Alright, folks.
Alright, so what we're doing today, okay, we're going to do a muscle fatigue lab, okay? Our objective is to find out how lactic acid affects and how, you know, our muscles get tired from it, okay? So how many of you guys play sports or work out or anything like that? Alright, what happens when you guys do play sports and work out to your muscles? Okay, they get tired. Okay, what else happens other than them getting tired? Good. What else happens to those muscles? If you run for a long time, what happens?
Body starts to produce lactic acid.
Okay, and then what happens?
The muscles cramp.
Okay, your muscles start to cramp. What other feelings do you get?
Dying.
What was that?
Dying.
Not a dying.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What other feelings do you get?
Depression.
You have, if you feel weaker, okay, you also get a...
Well, you feel like it likes jelly.
Do you guys ever get a burning sensation?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that we'll talk about that as well, okay? So we'll do a lab, and right now we'll go over the process.
Hey, you recording?
Okay, so folks, I just want to back up. We've been in the details of fermentation, alcoholic fermentation in our yeast lab. I kind of want to back up and repeat the big picture. This should help you with your introduction and background to your lab that's due on Tuesday. You have this down. Could you hit the lights on that? You have this down somewhere, nothing to copy, but I just want to bring you through the process again. And it will lead us to what we're doing today. Okay, let's see how all this fits in. Okay? First of all, we started with the concept of energy. And we said every single cell needs energy to do its job, whether it's producing proteins, packaging them, sending them out, whatever the cell is doing, if it's a muscle contracting, it needs energy. What is the form of energy that cells use? ATP. Excellent, okay? But we don't go to the grocery store and buy ATP, do we?
Yes.
That would be a no, Nick. No, we don't. What do we consume?
So what do we have that's basically ATP?
Food, okay? So we have food. And when it comes down to the simple molecule that energy is stored in, we're talking about glucose. So we have to start breaking down that glucose, and we do it in the process that we've talked about called glycolysis.
And what is glucose? Sugars. Okay.
Okay, so in glycolysis, what happens?
The glucose breaks down to 2 pyruvic acids.
Excellent. Glucose leads to 2 pyruvic acids. And that's just the beginning. Okay, that's just the beginning. It only releases a little bit of ATP. What we do next depends on what? What is it? Whether or not there's oxygen. If O2 is present, we go with aerobic respiration. We said Krebs cycle and electron transport chain produces tons of ATP. All right? So that's preferable. But there are some small organisms, and there are times when our cells don't get enough oxygen. If there is no O2 available, which direction do we go?
Anaerobic.
Anaerobic. Okay? Of which there are 2 types that we discussed. What are those 2 types? Ethan?
Lactic acid.
Okay. And what is the one that we've been looking at in detail in our yeast lab, Tori? Alcoholic fermentation. Okay, we've talked about alcoholic fermentation. fermentation, you've run an experiment on it, as it happens in yeast. You measured CO2 production as a way to look at the rate of fermentation. Your labs are due Tuesday. Today we're going to do we're going to take a look at this second type, lactic acid fermentation, which, as we mentioned earlier, takes place in muscles in the absence of O2 and is an alternative, but is a somewhat painful alternative. Okay, I have a video short on exercise physiology.
Muscles to work. Unlike some other While ATP is the fuel that supplies the energy for muscles to work, unlike some other types of fuel you might be familiar with, it's not a case of simply filling up the body's tank with ATP and off we go. In fact, the body has 3 different energy systems, and they all work together to enable our muscles to contract and allow us to perform an incredible range of movements. The first 2 energy systems we'll examine are called anaerobic energy systems. That is, they function without oxygen. Firstly, the ATP-PC system. PC stands for phosphocreatine. Let's look more closely at an ATP molecule. Its molecular diagram looks like this. When the energy from an ATP molecule is released, one of the phosphate groups, consisting of 1 phosphorus atom and 3 oxygens, splits away. The remaining molecule is known as ADP, or adenosine diphosphate. Its molecular diagram looks like this. But when PC, or phosphocreatine, which is also found in muscle cells, reacts with ADP, it donates a phosphate group to the ADP molecule, and an ATP molecule is again formed. When PC gives off its phosphate group, a molecule known as creatine is left. For this reaction to take place, an enzyme called creatine kinase must be present. This series of reactions is the basis of the ATP-PC energy system. ATP synthesizes to ADP and resynthesizes to ATP with the help of PC molecules and the enzyme. These reactions take place very quickly inside the muscles, and because PC is stored in the muscles, it is the first energy system used during high-intensity physical activity. The muscles only store about 10 seconds worth of PC, so any physical activity that involves quick, short bursts of energy makes heavy use of the ATP-PC system. When the 10 seconds worth of PC is used up, muscles start relying on the second anaerobic energy system for the bulk of their energy. This second anaerobic energy system is known as the lactic acid system. It works by synthesizing new ATP molecules from glycogen, which is the stored form of sugar in our bodies. The reaction is known as glycolysis, and because it doesn't involve oxygen, it's called anaerobic glycolysis. Through a complex series of reactions, glycogen breaks down into ATP and lactic acid. This anaerobic glycolysis occurs when muscles are working above their lactate threshold, something we'll look at in more detail later in the program. As lactic acid builds up in our muscles, they begin to hurt and feel stiff, and this serves as a signal that our muscles are wanting a rest. Anaerobic glycolysis is the basis of the lactic acid energy system. During high-intensity exercise, it takes about 10 seconds to really kick in and lasts about another 20 seconds or so before the third system starts to play the most important part in providing.
Okay, so today we're going to be letting you identify your lactic acid threshold in a particular activity.
Okay, so our purpose, if you guys can just take a look at the lab itself, okay? To determine how long it takes for your muscles to become tired and full of lactic acid, okay? What we're gonna do, I know that it says as just partners on here, we're gonna actually do this in groups of three or four, okay? We're gonna get into the same groups that we were in for last week's East lab, okay? So, what we're gonna do is each group member is gonna have a job. We're gonna have 3 jobs. One is counting, okay? One's gonna be a counter. One person's gonna be a squeezer. So you're gonna be squeezing the tennis ball. It does say racquetball on here. We're using tennis balls today, okay? And then the third job is to be the timer, okay? So what we're gonna do, you guys are gonna rotate jobs, okay? So someone's gonna start off as a squeezer, someone's gonna start off as the counter and the timer, and then we'll just keep rotating jobs. After each 10 seconds, okay, the squeezer's going to be squeezing as many times in 10 seconds as they can. The counter's going to be counting how many times the squeezer squeezes the ball, okay? While that's going on, the timer's going to be timing every 10 seconds, okay? After the first 10 seconds, what's going to happen is they'll say how many squeezes the squeezer did, okay? After the second 10 seconds, how many squeezes the squeezer did. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually demonstrate this for you. So Mrs. Miriam, Ms. Miranda, and I are going to demonstrate this so that you guys
I have Miss Miriam's lab paper because she's going to work up her own data. So even though I'm the one that's taking down, I'm the timer and recording, I have her paper with me so that when she's done, she has her own data. Okay, I'm going to go to my stopwatch
And you guys can
application.
use your stopwatches or you can use the clock for this, okay, on your cell phones, because I know you guys all have them.
I'm gonna need that. All right, so you are going to start when I say start. You ready?
I'm going to count.
Yep. Set. Start. How many?
21.
It's hard now. How many?
17.
70?
How many?
16.
How many?
17.
Okay, so
So,
you will continue.
so you guys get the gist of it, okay? The thing that we forgot to mention, the one thing we forgot to mention, okay? We're gonna use our non-writing hand, okay? Use your non-writing hand, don't use the hand that you write with, okay?
And you go for 100 seconds total. We stopped because you got the point, but you go for 100.
So, how many seconds is 100 seconds?
100 seconds.
Yeah, but on your phone, what's it gonna say?
A minute.
1:40, okay? Just to make sure that you
Or
guys.
if you use the stopwatch, you can just.
Okay, yeah. So what you guys are gonna do is then you guys are gonna answer the questions right here. You guys are also gonna have to make a graph as well. What type of graph are we gonna use, do you guys think? Why are we gonna use a line graph? Why? Okay, good, and we're dealing with
Data over time.
time, data over time, good. Okay, so I'll quickly go over the questions with you guys, just to make sure that you guys don't have any questions for us after these? Okay, so what happens to the number of squeezes over time? That's number one. How did your squeezing hand and arm feel towards the end of the squeezing time period? Okay, so after a while. When you work your muscles a lot in a short amount of time, your muscles cannot get the oxygen they need for aerobic respiration. Instead, your muscles undergo anaerobic respiration and produce lactic acid. When the lactic acid builds up, you get a burning sensation, like we talked about when we work out at the gym or when you guys are playing sports. And then followed by pain in the muscle. Okay. So with this information, you guys are going to have to answer questions A and B for number 3. Don't answer question 4 right yet, okay? We're going to do that after. That's going to be extra credit, okay? So all you guys have to do is go up to number 3 and then do the graph, and then we'll come back as a group, and then you guys can do question 4 as extra credit. You guys all set?
Yes.
Anything?
We want you to work in the same groups that you worked in the East Lab.
Oh, God. Is that recording?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Remember that all of you rotate the job. The data on your room.
Wonderful for the introduction.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll start.
Oh my god, are you serious? This is hard.
No, that's
Yeah. So you recorded this video?
you can go first. What's next?
Alright.
Okay, well, I didn't know you were starting right then and there.
I'll tell you how much. So 10 seconds and you put that number straight.
So do you want me to?
Wait, so when it,
I'll say
65? I got better.
Remember your non-writing hand.
Right, we definitely need 65 to 10
after
seconds.
I got
10 seconds, I
35.
have to
What?
restart.
No, great. Keep going.
Let me see your hand clearly.
Brain's doing like. Yeah, we're doing like 7.
That was bad.
I just want to give up.
1-6. We got 9 that day.
How many more seconds?
30.
Alright, so loud.
Oh,
Okay, so.
Come on, keep going.
John.
Guys, we're totally cheating.
What am I cheating?
No.
No, your dad is gonna be skewed, go switch hands.
Alright, time by increases 5, which is approximately 7. So he had went up by 8.
Oh my god, my form.
Then 15. Yeah, 35, 15.
I got 30 the first one.
15.
Yeah, literally.
Then he went to
Yeah.
35 plus 35 is 70. I'm really not 70 years old. I'm 15.
Go!
I'm 45.
Yeah. 10 seconds.
Alright, 42.
Right now.
I'm not a Kyle, that's you, buddy.
Everything is, doing it, you actually can't start with your hands. So I say.
You're saying,
So I.
Wait, where's yours? Wait, where's this?
Oh, it's like, let me trust me, so I ask you.
Oh,
So I ask you how.
okay.
When is this over?
no, you have three. You tell
Let me
he's
get
gonna
out,
tell
I
you why.
can't, just,
You say every 5 seconds.
I got it, right? Okay. Yeah, you count again, I got the time. No, Jacob, you're counting.
I'll help you, I'll go with you.
Alright, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
What did you get?
10.
That's what's up.
Oh my god. How many?
What did you get?
Are you setting aside?
Oh my god, I can't move my hand.
I know, it's so weird.
How many?
What did you get?
Why would I laugh at his pain? And he's like,
Now they know.
No, it's split 6.
What did you get?
10.
19.
I lost count again.
okay, go.
Done, right?
What did you get?
10.
You won 4.
Yeah.
Did it hurt that bad? I'm pretty scared.
What did you get?
You are.
4.
I can't move my hand.
I know.
26.
What?
What did you get?
20.
22.
What did you get?
10.
Yeah.
23.
Oh, wait, you can't.
I'll leave it.
How much I
Crimson puppy with this. How many?
It cannot hurt that bad. I'm
It
like,
does hurt.
okay, I'm scared.
3 or 4 rounds, it really starts to hurt right here and you can't move your hand.
Yeah, you recorded.
Oh my god, my shoe for this thing.
Is that it?
Did you want to come or do you want to do it?
I'll record it.
Is it possible?
What? That's tiring.
Yeah.
Right, so like, this is you. You're like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
30 seconds, oh yeah, I'm done.
Alright.
No,
Set.
no, who's
Go.
controlling yeah.
Either just go ahead. Did you just say yes?
10.
We're serious.
Ethan's putting in work. We should do this for conditioning.
Oh my god, we're typed up. I might just cry.
24.
Wait.
Oh.
I got some luck.
Yeah, mine started hurt.
Why
Jacob,
is
you're all
it?
right.
End of the last column.
30.
First column.
40.
Oh my god, my arms are like starting to hurt.
You're not even
Ready?
calling right now.
2, 1, go.
50.
Time.
This really hurts.
Let me know when you can't move your hand anymore.
How many? 30.
Yeah, no, you got excited.
60.
25. Oh, absolutely. I was gonna say 60.
That was only half the test.
10.
Oh, you're done.
How many?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, what is it for?
5.
Really hurts.
Sorry, George.
You know, I just realized just that that's 30. Those like milliseconds are like real quick.
Oh my, is there a little more?
Yeah, you have 5 seconds.
How many?
So now.
40.
They go by so fast, they're just like, you can't even tell what number it is.
Ew, I did bad.
How many?
I don't know where you're going hard, but you go.
20.
Alright.
How many?
157.
Keep going.
So it's like you see, like a burning.
Oh, yeah, you didn't see the math? Alright, great. Jake, here's the reason how you're.
I got time.
You could like stare at one from the wall.
Oh, really, Tyler? What? Good.
Yeah, I was tired. Yeah, I was tired and just cramped.
How many?
Oh,
Oh, stop, just stop, Jacob, stop. Oh my God, Tyler,
We went by 3 people with no
Oh my
mistakes, and then
God.
on the last one, we messed up.
Jesus, Trent, you count, this kid's obviously dead. You're like,
You're all done.
6 year old. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
By looking at your results, pinpoint when you first had lactic acid available. So pinpoint when you first had lactic acid available.
40 seconds. I have 26 on every night.
You mean this one here?
That's 26. Yeah.
And so on in the fifth column, how do you know?
They're usually lots of fun. You've seen them before.
Don't move your hand like that. How many?
You said because it's decreased significantly.
Put your hand on the table if you want.
How long does it take for the burning feeling to disappear?
Oh, how many? How many?
Folks, don't forget the rules of graphing. I've got a reminder up on the board. Line graph, pencil, whole sheet, ID on x-axis, labels, title.
Ethan. Oh, that's right. Ethan. I'm gonna have to start using zip ties.
How many?
Alright, can somebody calculate mine? I'll go grab a roll and stuff.
Alright, folks,
Alright, let's bring it back.
take a minute.
Mr. W, I'm gonna go get your agenda.
Take a minute. Have a seat.
Bring off.
Stop.
And Matt, okay, so, what did you guys get out of the
Hey,
lab?
folks, I said stop what you're doing for a minute.
Well, you guys can go right back to work right after this. Okay, so what did you guys get out of the lab? What happened? Okay, it was really tiring. What did you guys notice about the amount of squeezes? What happened to your amount of squeezes? What happened? Why is that? Okay. How long do you guys feel that the burning sensation lasted? Did everyone feel it? Yeah. How long did you guys feel it lasted for?
For me, it took like 3 minutes to disappear completely.
You thought it was 3 minutes? Okay. Anyone think anything different? think this is important that we did this? Why isn't
To
it?
get a better understanding of lactic acid.
Okay, yeah, to get an actual experience for lactic acid, good. The last thing that I just wanted to explain to you guys, okay, for extra credit, number 4, you guys have 3 options if you guys want extra credit. You don't have to do a graph. All you have to do is make a table with the information and give us a little summary of it, okay? So it's you don't have to go full out here. But we have 3 options here that are similar to the experiment that we just did, okay? So how does lactic acid buildup compare between large and small muscles? And our examples were our hand muscles and our
Large,
finger muscles. So
small.
what we just did with the tennis ball, we have a clothespin up here where you can just use your small muscles like your fingers. Okay, so that's one experiment you can do. How does lactic acid buildup compare between warm muscles and cold muscles?
We could get some ice and soak your hand for a set amount of time that your group decides on.
And then the last one is how does lactic acid buildup compare between writing hand and non-writing hand? So you guys kind of know that.
Wait, these are lives that we could just figure out a way to do them, or you want?
You're gonna do it, yeah, you don't have to write down a procedure or anything, you're gonna do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just extra credit that you guys can get. So I suggest that you guys do it. Okay. Alright, you guys go back to work.
Wait, we can do that after these.
Yeah, after.
Which would you prefer?
What is that?